The Sith Lords are some of the most iconic villains in Star Wars history, but not all of them operated on the same level. Some were architects of galactic domination, some were just really good at stabbing people. Today, I'm ranking all 12 major Sith Lords by strategic significance, from specialized assassins to the ultimate masters of the galaxy. And trust me, the top 3 will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about Sith power. Darth Maul. Darth Maul is either the most iconic assassin in Star Wars or the ultimate example of wasted potential, and I can prove it. When he appeared in The Phantom Menace, Maul wielded a unique double-bladed lightsaber, killed Qui-Gon Jinn in direct combat, and looked like the most dangerous thing the galaxy had ever seen. Then Obi-Wan bisected him and dropped him down a reactor shaft. Turns out, numbered Maul survived through sheer hatred, spent years with a cybernetic lower body, eventually took over Mandalore, and killed countless Republic forces. But here's the thing, he never operated with independent strategic vision. Every major move Maul made was either following Sidious's orders or reacting to being cut in half. He was a weapon, not an architect. The fan debate about whether Maul was ever truly a Sith Lord or just Sidious's disposable instrument has raged for years. His survival proves Sith endurance can overcome catastrophic damage, but if you can't think beyond revenge, does raw power even matter? At least Maul had a body to lose, unlike the next Sith Lord, who decided flesh was optional. Darth Momin. Momin is a ghost in a machine, literally. This ancient Sith sorcerer from roughly 4,000 years before the Skywalker saga figured out how to transfer his consciousness into his armor, making him functionally immortal as long as the physical object survives. Not through cloning, not through essence transfer into living hosts, but by becoming the armor itself, which is both brilliant and horrifying, because it means Momin can't die unless someone destroys the mask, but he also can't exist without it. Before you dismiss this as some weird footnote, hear me out. Momin mastered Sith alchemy to the point where he could create techno-organic abominations capable of consuming entire civilizations. Not metaphorically, these things would literally devour populations and incorporate biological matter into mechanical constructs. The dude wasn't just evil, he was artistically evil, treating horror as a creative medium. He shows up in the Darth Vader comics, helping design Vader's fortress on Mustafar, meaning even thousands of years after his physical death, he's still influencing major canonical locations. Here's where it gets complicated. Momin's immortality method is both evolution and limitation. He can't be killed conventionally, but he's also stuck possessing whoever wears the armor, operating through proxies instead of direct power. Compare that to Plagueis manipulating midi-chlorians or Sidious building empires, and Momin feels more like a haunted relic than a strategic mastermind. But if you think being trapped in armor is limiting, wait until you hear about the Sith Lord who became a wound in the Force itself, Darth Nihilus. Darth Nihilus is either the most dangerous Sith Lord in history, or he's not a Sith Lord at all, and I can prove it. He appeared around 3951 BBY as one-third of the Sith Triumvirate alongside Darth Sion and Darth Traya. But calling him a Sith Lord is like calling a black hole a strategic military asset. He didn't conquer worlds, he consumed them. Entire planets, every living thing, the Force itself. He'd drain a star system of all life force just to sustain his own existence, which is, not ideal. The Jedi called him a wound in the Force. Not a practitioner of the dark side, a wound. An actual rupture in reality that violates every conventional understanding of Force balance. His flagship, the Ravager, wasn't a ship anymore by the time players encountered him in KOTOR 2. It was a corpse held together by his hunger. Here's where it gets weird. Nihilus had zero strategy, no grand plan, no empire-building ambitions, just endless consumption. He's a sentient void that happens to wear armor. You can't negotiate with him, you can't redirect him, you can't predict him. He's a natural disaster that used to be a person, and the only solution was to kill him before he ate the galaxy. The Jedi Exile managed it, barely. But if you think one cosmic horror is disturbing, wait until you hear about the Sith Lord who commanded 2,000 star systems through political manipulation alone, Darth Tyrannus. Count Dooku seems like the tragic noble who fell from grace, but the reality is way darker than that. Before you give him credit for good intentions, consider this. Dooku commanded over 2,000 worlds in the Separatist Alliance and orchestrated the Clone Wars that killed billions. Not millions, billions. The droid armies he coordinated weren't just military assets, they were instruments of systematic slaughter across entire star systems. Every planetary blockade, every orbital orbital bombardment traces back to Dooku's military strategy. Here's where it gets weird. Dooku trained multiple dark side assassins like Asajj Ventress and Savage Opress, while simultaneously serving as Palpatine's apprentice. That's a deliberate violation of the rule of two that Palpatine allowed because he viewed Dooku as expendable from day one. Ventress wasn't even considered a true Sith, just a disposable tool. Tyrannus wasn't building a legacy, he was a placeholder executing someone else's vision. And here's the kicker, his noble Jedi backstory doesn't excuse anything. Dooku defected around 32 BBY with full awareness that Palpatine was manipulating the entire conflict. He wasn't some tragic pawn who got tricked, he was a willing architect of galactic genocide who rationalized mass murder as political reform. The fan debate about whether Dooku was a genuine believer or just Palpatine's tool misses the point entirely. Billions died either way. And when Anakin decapitated him in Revenge of the Sith, Palpatine didn't even blink. Dooku was always meant to be discarded, but if you think commanding armies makes you powerful, wait until you hear about the Sith Lord who rewrote the entire foundation of what it means to be Sith. Darth Revan commanded over 50,000 troops and orchestrated two massive galactic-scale wars, the Mandalorian Wars and the Jedi Civil War, making him responsible for one of the largest military conflicts in pre-Empire history. But here's where it gets complicated. He's also one of the only major Sith Lords who achieved genuine redemption while keeping his full memory and power intact, which shouldn't be possible according to everything we know about the dark side. Most Sith who turn good either die immediately, lose their memories, or weren't that committed to begin with. Revan was different. He fell to the dark side willingly, commanded an empire, personally killed Jedi Masters, and then chose to come back to the light side without conveniently forgetting any of it. That's not supposed to happen. The dark side doesn't just let you walk away, and here's the kicker. Revan is the player character in Knights of the Old Republic 1, which means his entire biography is player dependent. You can make him light side, dark side, or somewhere in between. Canon variations exist because different players made different choices, so the community can't even agree on what his true nature was. Was he always destined for redemption, or did he genuinely fall and claw his way back out? The debate has been raging for 2 decades. Some fans argue the redemption arc proves the dark side isn't absolute corruption. Others think it undermines his Sith credentials entirely. Either way, commanding 50,000 soldiers across multiple star systems while juggling 2 wars puts him in rare company strategically, even if his independent sovereignty was limited compared to what came later. But if you think leading galactic wars is impressive, wait until you hear about the Sith Lord who didn't conquer anything and still changed everything. Starting with mass murder, Darth Bane. Darth Bane didn't conquer a single planet. He didn't overthrow a government. He didn't lead armies across star systems. What he did do was commit the largest mass murder in Sith history, killing thousands of his own kind to enforce a philosophy he invented. And somehow, that made him more strategically significant than almost every Sith who came before. Around 1,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, Bane looked at the sprawling Sith Empire and decided the problem wasn't the Jedi. It was other Sith. Too many egos, too much infighting, too much visibility. So he created the rule of 2. 1 master, 1 apprentice. That's it. No exceptions. And when the existing Sith refused to follow his new doctrine, he systematically executed every single one of them. Not through political maneuvering, through superior power and ruthless efficiency. He traded galactic conquest for survival, betting that a hidden lineage of ever-strengthening Sith would eventually destroy the Jedi more effectively than any visible empire ever could. Here's the thing, he was right. Every Sith Lord from Bane forward traces their lineage directly to him. Tenebris learned from Bane's system. Plagueis refined it. Sidious perfected it. The 1,000-Year Shadow Campaign Bane initiated culminated in Order 66 and the fall of the Republic. Fans debate whether the rule of 2 genuinely worked or just got lucky with exceptional individuals like Palpatine, but the numbers don't lie. Bane's doctrine survived a millennium and produced the only Sith to achieve total galactic domination. At least Bane had a philosophy, unlike the immortal schemer who came next. Darth Tenebris. Here's the thing about Darth Tenebris. He's the architect of immortality who got killed using his own blueprint, and I can prove it. Tenebris served as Darth Plagueis' master roughly 200 years before the Skywalker saga, operating in complete secrecy while perfecting techniques that would obsess every Sith who came after him. He discovered alchemical and biological pathways to extending life, manipulating midi-chlorians in ways that hadn't been documented in centuries. His research became the foundation for every everything Plagueis and Palpatine would later attempt. Every longevity experiment, every life extension technique, every method of cheating death traces back to Tenebris cracking the code first. But here's where it gets dark. Plagueis assassinated him using the exact immortality techniques Tenebris taught him. The master who unlocked the secrets of eternal life got murdered by his own methodology. Perfect ironic subversion where your greatest legacy becomes your undoing. Nobody talks about Tenebris because his screen time is basically zero. He appears in extended materials and gets referenced in passing, but casual fans have never heard his name. Which is wild because his influence shaped the entire dark side's philosophical obsession with conquering death. Without Tenebris, Plagueis never experiments on midi-chlorians. Without those experiments, Palpatine never learns the techniques he uses to survive beyond death. The question becomes, do fans underestimate him? Limited appearances versus foundational impact? I'd argue yes, but at least he died quietly, unlike his apprentice, who took those same techniques and pushed them even further. Darth Plagueis the Wise spent over a century manipulating galactic events from the shadows, yet nobody outside the Sith knew he existed until Palpatine casually dropped his name to seduce Anakin. Before you dismiss him as just another forgotten schemer, understand this. Plagueis represented the absolute apex of Sith scientific knowledge. While other Sith lords conquered through armies or raw power, Plagueis treated the dark side like a laboratory experiment, and his specialty was death itself. He conducted extensive genetic manipulation across multiple species and allegedly discovered how to influence midi-chlorians to create life and prevent death. The moon scientist approached immortality through methodology rather than mysticism, documenting every experiment, every failure, every breakthrough. For decades, this worked flawlessly. He ruled in complete secrecy as Sidious's master, shaping the galaxy without a single being knowing his name. But here's where it gets darkly ironic. Palpatine claims Plagueis could save others from death, but not himself, which is either the greatest failure in Sith history or the most elaborate lie ever told. Because around 32 BBY, Sidious murdered him while he slept. The man who mastered cheating death got killed in his sleep like an ordinary person. Zero defenses, zero contingencies that worked, zero survival despite all that knowledge. The community remains genuinely divided on whether Plagueis actually died or transferred his consciousness somewhere else, and whether Palpatine's entire story about his abilities was even accurate. Some fans argue Plagueis was the more competent strategist who simply lost a single moment. Others point out that wisdom means nothing if you can't see the obvious betrayal coming. At least Plagueis died in his sleep. The next Sith Lord suffered for over 2 decades in a walking prison. Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, became Darth Vader at age 22 and served Palpatine for 23 years. He commanded millions of stormtroopers, orchestrated the execution of over 10,000 Jedi through Order 66, and held the rank of Supreme Commander with direct authority over the entire Imperial military. He destroyed worlds. He enforced galactic policy through terror. He was by every metric one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. But here's the thing, he was never in charge. Vader had unlimited military power, but zero strategic autonomy. He could obliterate a planet on a whim, but Sidious decided which planet. He commanded millions of troops, but Palpatine directed the campaigns. Every decision Vader made existed within parameters someone else set. He was the ultimate paradox, a man with immense authority who remained perpetually subordinate. The galaxy's enforcer, not its architect. And that leads to the big debate. Did Vader ever truly embrace Sith philosophy, or was he just Anakin in a suit, perpetually conflicted and controlled? The community remains divided. Some argue he was a genuine Sith Lord who chose darkness. Others see him as a broken man trapped in servitude, never fully committing to the ideology. The evidence supports both. He slaughtered Jedi without hesitation, but he also saved his son and killed Palpatine, ending the Sith lineage entirely. That final act matters. Vader served the Sith for 2 decades, but his redemption destroyed them. One choice erased everything Sidious built. But if you think commanding a galactic military without sovereignty is frustrating, wait until you hear about the Sith Lord who ruled an entire empire for over 1,300 consecutive years. Darth Vitiate. Vitiate ruled the Sith Empire for over 1,300 years. 1,300 consecutive years. Through essence transfer, he maintained absolute control across multiple star systems, commanding millions of servants and soldiers through entire civilizations, rising and falling, while he remained constant. That's not a reign, that's geological time. Before you dismiss this as Legends nonsense, understand what that means practically. Vitiate manipulated galactic events across centuries. He orchestrated the Revan storyline, consumed entire planets' life force in single rituals, and encountered multiple generations of Force users who lived and died while he simply continued existing. Sidious conquered the galaxy in 13 years. Vitiate maintained an empire longer than some species' recorded histories. The immortality itself is what separates him. Not cloning, not cybernetics, but essence transfer. His consciousness jumping between bodies, preserving continuity of experience and strategic planning across 13 centuries. Every other Sith we've covered either died or required technological resurrection. Vitiate just kept going. Here's where it gets complicated. Duration versus efficiency. Sidious achieved total galactic conquest in a fraction of Vitiate's lifespan, but Vitiate's millennium-spanning manipulation demonstrates patience and long-term planning. Sidious never needed. It's the philosophical debate between concentrated power and sustained dominion. SWTOR players revere Vitiate as the immortal emperor, the ultimate expression of Sith longevity. Post-2014 canon questions linger about whether his achievements remain valid, but the numbers don't lie. Longest continuous Sith reign in documented history, predating Sidious's empire by millennia. But if you think 13 centuries of essence transfer represents true immortality, Krayt took a completely different approach to eternal rule. Darth Krayt. After 1,000 years of the rule of two, one Sith decided Bane's entire philosophy was bullshit. Darth Krayt didn't just break the rule of two. He obliterated it, establishing the one Sith order with hundreds of Sith operating under his command and ruling as Galactic Emperor approximately 130 years after the Skywalker saga ended. Think about the boldness required to invert a doctrine that successfully produced Sidious after a millennium of careful adherence. Bane built the rule of two to concentrate power and ensure survival through secrecy. Krayt looked at that success and said, "Cool, but what if I just had an army of Sith instead?" And it worked. Krayt commanded vast military forces, achieved resurrection through multiple methods including cloning, and maintained galactic dominion across generations. When Cade Skywalker showed up to continue his family's tradition of opposing Sith Lords, Krayt was ready for him, representing the next evolution of generational conflict. Legends fans revere Krayt as the ultimate expansion of Sith philosophy, while Disney canon preferers often overlook him entirely. But whether his approach represents strategic evolution or dangerous regression from Bane's proven formula remains one of the most fascinating debates in extended lore. He proved you could rule an empire with hundreds of Sith and maintain control. But if you think breaking thousand-year traditions is impressive, wait until you hear about the Sith Lord who orchestrated the entire sequence of events that made every other name on this list possible. Darth Sidious, Palpatine didn't just win. He won so completely that the galaxy didn't even realize it had lost until it was decades too late. Every other Sith on this list achieved something impressive. Bane created a doctrine. Vitiate ruled for centuries. Vader commanded armies, but Sidious orchestrated the systematic annihilation of over 10,000 Jedi, the collapse of a 25,000-year-old republic, and the rise of a galactic empire, all while convincing everyone he was a harmless politician. For 32 years, he manipulated every major event in the galaxy from complete shadows. The Clone Wars, his design, the droid army, his funding, Anakin's fall, his patient grooming, Order 66, his single command that erased the Jedi in one afternoon. And here's the thing, he didn't need a massive Sith army or ancient rituals to consume planets. He used bureaucracy, shell corporations, and a smile. He turned the Republic against itself and made the Jedi destroy their own credibility. By the time anyone realized what had happened, he controlled the Senate, the military, the courts, and the infrastructure of the entire galaxy. 20 years of unchallenged rule followed, then he died. And 30 years later, he came back anyway, because he'd prepared clone bodies in advance. Whether you think that Return and Rise of Skywalker was brilliant or narratively catastrophic, it proves one thing. Sidious planned for immortality more thoroughly than Plagueis ever managed. He's the final product of Bane's 1,000-year lineage. The Rule of Two was designed to concentrate power, eliminate weakness, and produce the ultimate Sith. And it worked. Sidious proved it by conquering the galaxy, destroying the Jedi, and ruling longer than any Sith in modern history. No one else on this list matched that combination of patience, manipulation, and total victory. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.